Roman Reigns has had a spectacular year in WWE ever since what happened at the night at the Royal Rumble on January 25th. Roman Reigns had just returned and he was feuding, and he started this really pointless feud with the Big Show. And well, let's just say those matches weren't great. And I knew the Royal Rumble was going to be a disaster for the match, especially because one, Seth Rollins wasn't going to be in it because that means they're not going to do the teasing of the triple threat match between the Shield members, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns, and especially with Bryan returning. Yeah, I knew Roman Reigns was, and especially it being in Philadelphia of all places. Yeah, I knew Roman Reigns was going to get the Batista treatment by the fans, even though this time it wasn't really deserving of it. So heading into that, they gave. So I was hoping, okay, WWE, okay, you can do this. You can find a way to prevent the storm that's going to come. So let's see what you're going to do. And for a few weeks, they sucked at it up until the Rumble. Like they went ahead, had Roman Reigns do corny promos saying that he's they did a Jack and the Beanstalk fairy tale. They did a Superman fairy tale promo. They especially, which has now become the butt of jokes for Roman Reigns, the Suffering Succotash promo. And I heard Vince McMahon have written the promos, so yeah, I was not happy about that. Then I had heard a report on, and this it doesn't really tie into Roman Reigns, at least to an extent, where Vince McMahon isn't really a fan of NXT in terms of how they're doing better than him, and on his shows, on his main roster shows, and views NXT guys as overrated. I'm not kidding there. And that led me to believe Vince McMahon might be trying to sabotage Roman Reigns so he can go ahead and say once and for all to Triple H, say, see, you guys can't work it, and only I can make them work, and whatnot. And I actually started believing what I was saying. So I was knowing that, and I had a feeling that Vince was trying to sabotage Roman Reigns, try and ruin him by ruining NXT because Roman Reigns is a Triple H guy. And I had always said in the defense of Roman Reigns in that Royal Rumble, saying that had Triple H been in charge of Roman Reigns' booking, then maybe Roman Reigns wouldn't have had such a bad Royal Rumble moment, and he probably would have been world champion at WrestleMania 31. But let me get to that in a moment. So Roman Reigns had a very bad Royal Rumble. Like he entered in at number 19, won the Royal Rumble, eliminating Rusev, and so the fans booed him. And luckily, he handled it way better than Batista did because Batista went ahead, threatened to break a guy in half, and then did the middle finger gesture to everybody in the audience who were cheering for Daniel Bryan. And so, like 24 hours later, Raw was canceled due to snowstorm, and they did a tape view in Stamford, Connecticut, WWE headquarters, where they did some angles where, and Roman Reigns gave his best promo on there, where he confronted Brock Lesnar, and it made me excited to see Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns because it was going to be a hard hitting physical match, and I was certainly wasn't disappointed by it. So, anyways, they start building up the angle of Roman Reigns' legitimacy in the Royal Rumble because The Rock interfered and helped Roman Reigns survive thanks because Kane and Big Show were butthurt losers and decided to attack Roman Reigns. So basically, their logic made no sense because those two guys were already eliminated. Rusev was hiding in the under the ring, so really there wasn't really much of a reason to do this angle because their logic made no sense. Though this is WWE logic, so expect that. So WWE looked like they might be able to counteract the fans' hatred and okay, now let me get to Roman Reigns' interviews he did earlier this year where he says, I'm just a guy getting rich, or haters gonna hate, or they don't know the business like they do, like I do, or when I'm talking, shut the hell up. Um, Here's the thing. I had two things were coming to mind for me. Either A, WWE was not was letting Roman Reigns say what he wanted so they can tease a heel turn because there were reports that Roman Reigns joined the dark side. So they wanted to tease how much heat he could get for these interviews, and he definitely got a lot of heat for it. So that was my initial thought. My other thought was if this is really Roman Reigns' attitude, it doesn't really bother me. Mostly because I know this is not me being a blind fan. Like, even I can know when, yeah, you probably should not say that. Um, yeah, I kept saying, like, wait, but this doesn't really bother me. Mostly because wasn't there a guy that had that same kind of attitude saying he was getting rich and also he had a much worse problem because he was on drugs? What was his name? His name was Randy Orton, and a lot of Roman Reigns' attitude was reminding me of that. Like, Randy Orton slapped a guy when asking about the size of his TV, and everyone in the comments section from that video I saw were all in support of Randy Orton. Like, really? You're gonna support him acting like a complete jackass? Like, he could have just walked off. Like, still, that would have been a sign of him being a jackass, but at least you didn't physically attack him. So, so Roman Reigns' attitude, it didn't bother me. The interviews, I felt like he could have handled it better, but it didn't bother me like a lot of fans did because Randy Orton had the same attitude. Though Randy Orton's was much worse because he was on drugs when he was younger, and so I thought, oh well, he's gonna eventually learn the hard way about this, and well, eventually learn to be humble about this, like Randy Orton eventually was, I think. um, so heading into this, like I was thinking, okay, since they now are going to do Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns, since during and Reigns delivered a massive spear to Big Show, flying out of the air and spearing Big Show in the Seth Rollins Daniel Bryan match, and let Daniel Bryan win the match to face him at Fastlane to succeed in defending his title shot opportunity at WrestleMania. And Roman Reigns, okay, like Roman Reigns was. This is the first time Roman Reigns is giving a promo where he has to hold his own and not be carried by a bunch of people. He has to hold his own, and everyone braced for the worst. Like, oh god, this is gonna be a corny promo. Turns out it really wasn't. He went ahead and threatened the entire locker room, saying he has a spear with their name on it, and says, "You can bet your ass, you can believe that." And I was like, okay, it's so far so good. Like they're doing so good with this so far with this so far with this. This is going well. Um, so let's see how this works. And Roman Reigns would fight Daniel Bryan, and I knew the match was going to be good because have they really ever had a bad match together with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns? Have they ever had a bad match? On SmackDown back in 2013, they had a match, and back in September, the night after Night of Champions, they didn't have a bad match. That was the main event of Raw and was ruined by interferences. So, yeah, expect that. But this was the first time we got a straight one-on-one fight without any interference or involvement. So let's see how the match goes without any backup or without any attacks from behind. And they delivered one hell of a match. It was ranked 4 stars on Dave Meltzer, showing, and I was like saying, "Yes, yes, you beautiful bastards! You finally actually did something right." Like I was all for Roman Reigns winning and defend and fighting Brock Lesnar. Like I was not in favor of Daniel Bryan, mostly because his fans were becoming the very thing they hated, and Daniel Bryan isn't really like that, like John Cena. And also, it's Brock Lesnar. Do you want Daniel Bryan to get killed? Like I'm still saying this, especially heading into 2016. I'm still saying this. Do fans want Bryan to get killed by Brock Lesnar? No? Okay, good. We're on agreement. We're in agreement here. So Roman Reigns heading into after Fastlane, he did some promo work with Paul Heyman and did some matches, and most of those matches were a Big Show again, and not really with matches with guys he could work with. And I was also going into Palpatine mode in the comment section on Bleacher Report where I kept saying, "Yes, let the hate flow through you, Roman. Channel your anger." give in to your anger and all that. And I was, because Roman Reigns seemed to be more aggressive in his wrestling style. Like he started like acting more enraged and more pissed off. Like the fans' hatred of him was now fueling his anger and fueling his motivation to work even harder. And I was really liking this angle they were doing with it. They turned Roman Reigns into a tweener at this point because they kind of did some subtle heel gestures with Roman Reigns other than spearing Daniel Bryan outright. Roman Reigns always kept pointing at the WrestleMania sign with his fists every time when he did his entrance. Like back then, he did it in front of the fans, but now he was just pointing at the WrestleMania signs. And I thought, like, that's actually a subtle heel gesture. Like he's only pointing to WrestleMania sign and not pointing at the fans. Like that was kind of subtle there. Kind of surprising WWE still has it in them to make it subtle. So now let's get to the final Raw before WrestleMania. Holy crap, that was a complete and utter disaster. Like, they're going to turn this big brawl fest that's going to happen, this physical bloody match, and they're going to finally build this match confrontation between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns into a, no, it's mine, no, it's mine, no, I wanted it first. And I was like, ugh. You had the chance to do an all-out brawl like you did with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, which was awesome, and you didn't go with it? Fuck you, WWE. So, with that in mind, now they had pretty much said, well, we have accepted that WrestleMania 31 is going to be a disaster with the fans, so let's see how so unless they're going to really buy into Roman Reigns is going to have to work harder than ever with Brock Lesnar. So, let's see how the match was. Holy crap, that match was awesome. It was physical, it was bloody, it was brutal, and some people were saying Roman Reigns is too stiff, whatnot, and like, you're just finding something new to complain about. Like, Brock Lesnar reportedly wanted the match to be bloody. He wanted a legit fight, I feel, out of this. So basically, you can't really complain about something that Brock Lesnar wanted. And really, you're blaming Roman Reigns? Like, didn't The Undertaker do the exact same thing months later and you all said that was awesome? Okay. My God, what is wrong with everyone nowadays? So, WWE, it looked like Roman Reigns was going to win, and then it looked like... And here's what I found out. The original plan for the main event was instead of 15 minutes, they were supposed to go at it for 35 minutes, and I would have loved that. And considering WWE likes to end their show at 10:40 instead of at 11 now, since that's how long their pay-per-view is supposed to last, especially it being a 4-hour spectacular. They changed plans again, delayed it for 15 minutes. They had because of the Rock and Ronda Rousey angle. So Seth Rollins comes out, cashes in on Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar during the match and wins with the final curb stomp to Roman Reigns. Yeah, we're going to miss the curb stomp. Pins Roman Reigns to become champion, and you hear Seth Rollins telling Roman Reigns, thank you so much. Like, did Roman Reigns let this happen? I was wondering, why did Seth Rollins say that? Like, it could have been a heel gesture, but it just sounded more like he was thanking him for letting him win the title. And reportedly, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar were informed about this change of plans, like, the day before WrestleMania, I think. And, well, that's what happened. That's the end of the story over there. So I was really excited to see, well, Roman Reigns just delivered one hell of a match with Brock Lesnar. Man, I can't wait what the fans' reaction is going to be after this. Like, maybe they're going to admit they're wrong about this. Maybe they were wrong about Roman Reigns. Nope, they continued booing him the night after WrestleMania. And I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling sorry for Roman Reigns. Like, if they wanted me to be sympathetic to him, I'll be sympathetic to him. Like, this is just bad. Really, really bad. Like, this guy worked his ass off, delivered the main event of WrestleMania, and his match was one of the highest rating, and you're still booing him? What more do you fucking want? Like, what more do you want from Roman Reigns? Do you want his blood? I'm pretty sure he can give you that because the company is supposed to be blood, sweat, and tears. And WWE's PG rating contradicts that. So, like, what more do you want with him? So, yeah, that was a complete disaster. So, like, despite his hard work, it apparently means that no, we don't really care. We'll still boo him, even after he lost the main event and was pinned clean for the first time ever since Elimination Chamber 2014. Um, so in April, Roman Reigns, I was really looking forward to what's that going to do with Roman Reigns? Like, I had made a fake prediction where I was hoping that they would do Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins in a fatal four-way Extreme Rules match, which would have been awesome. But they didn't do that. Instead, they went with Roman Reigns versus Big Show. And as you see my previous videos, I was really skeptical about this. And I heard it was going to be a last man standing match. And I was like, okay, the match isn't going to be a complete disaster. It's just going to be okay. And heading into that match, that was the same mentality I was having heading into it. It was a lackluster build. And I was just seeing this and just saying, it's going to be okay. And oh my god, Roman Reigns just had the best match with Big Show. This was possibly Roman Reigns' best match with Big Show. And it was reported that it got a 4-star rating, and it was said to be Big Show's best match ever, highest rated match ever in a singles competition. That wasn't a triple threat or tag team match. That's really saying something. If Roman Reigns can get a good match out of Big Show, then you know he can get a good match out of anybody. I mean, like, some people will say, oh, but the weapons and the destruction, that was pretty much the reason. Well, how do you think this match was going to work? Like, it obviously wasn't going to work just being a regular singles match. So, yeah, it's going to be so it has to have weapon-based matches. So, I was glad that the feud ended there, though we would later once again have to deal with more matches with Big Show because WWE thinks that's what's going to sell. Um, Heading into Payback, Roman Reigns was voted to be in a triple threat match with Randy Orton and Seth Rollins for the WWE World Title. And then Dean Ambrose got involved, and I was like, "Yes! Oh my God!" Even though this makes Randy Orton the fourth wheel in this match, they just went with the triple threat dream match for the Shield, with Randy Orton as the fourth wheel. So yeah, I was expecting a subtle hint. I was either expecting a reformation of the Shield or or a subtle or a tease of the Shield reunion happening in the near future, and they definitely went with the subtle tease. Well, not really subtle, with a tease that the Shield is going to get back together at one point, where Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins beat the living hell out of Randy Orton and powerbombed him through the table. I was like, and this was in Baltimore, and normally that shows the crowd's usually dead, and they run insane for that. And when Seth Rollins went ahead, had his arms on Ambrose and Reigns' shoulders, and screaming, "Yeah!" and everyone was like, "Yes, the Shield's back together!" And it turns out it wasn't, but everyone was really hoping for it. So once again, Roman Reigns delivers yet another great match, even though it was overbooked. So that's 4 matches in his belt that were high ratings and stole the show. So let's see, heading into into June 14th, about a few weeks later, Roman Reigns was scheduled to compete in a Money in the Bank ladder match, and everyone once again rejected Roman Reigns again after everything he's done and said, well, he's still not ready, we don't like him, can you please change the plans? And I was eventually saying WWE needs to eventually stick to their guns. Like, they can't constantly do this. There needs to be a balance between what corporate wants and what fans want, in my opinion. Not complete fan control, because then that will lead to anarchy, or corporate control, because that will lead to dissatisfaction. So really, they had to balance it out. Eventually, corporate had to stick to its guns here, but no. Instead, Roman Reigns was competing for the ladder match and almost won it, but then Bray Wyatt interfered and attacked Reigns from stopping him from retrieving the briefcase. So now I was finally excited. Like, wow, they're really going to go forward with Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns. Like, I wrote an article about a year back where I said Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt should have a feud, and it would be the feud of the reality era, and also tie in Roman Reigns' family involved, and they certainly did that for Battleground. and they had a hell of a match. And like, it wasn't Kevin Owens versus John Cena, though I didn't watch that match because, well, I did watch that match, unfortunately. I knew I should have known better because John Cena likes to placate his ego. So, yeah. So they had a heck of a match. It wasn't the best match they could have because, well, it's Kevin Owens and John Cena. They're going to obviously steal the show. And, well, I was against Bray Wyatt winning the match because I knew that means at SummerSlam he's going to lose and therefore the streak's going to end before it can fully develop. So, so yeah, at SummerSlam, to build SummerSlam, it was Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt with their respective partners. Roman Reigns was teaming with Dean Ambrose. Bray Wyatt was teaming with Luke Harper in a tag team match. And I was really looking forward to this match because I was hoping, okay, this match probably isn't going to be the best match of the night, but it's definitely going to be decent. And I'm more along the lines of wondering, how is the crowd going to react to Roman Reigns? Like, this is a hardcore fan crowd. And they treated him with disdain again, saying, Roman sleeping! Like, seriously, because Stone Cold said, oh, I think Roman Reigns was sleeping at the Royal Rumble, that means it's obviously true. Like, I had a hard time believing that. Like, wait, why would he fall asleep and take a nap in the middle of a match? Like, that makes no sense. But because it's Stone Cold, everyone didn't question it. So yeah. The feud at that point was kind of dragging a bit because I didn't really like this brother angle they were doing with brother versus brother, family versus family. Like, it just didn't feel the same as the Shield versus the Wyatt family. It just felt like WWE was trying to recreate something that wasn't really there because, well, where's Eric Rowan? Where's Seth Rollins? Where's the six-man tag team destructive portion of the match? Like, it doesn't feel really as special. So the following night on Raw, Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose fought Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt again. And this time we got the debate of Braun Strowman, and I already made a video about that. It was unexpected, it was awesome, and Roman Reigns was shown weakness for the first time in, well, a while, and was owned by Braun Strowman. So heading into that, they were announcing a six-man tag team match: Roman Reigns versus Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and an unknown partner versus the Wyatt family without Eric Rowan. So everyone was wondering who's going to be the partner. It was reported it was going to be either Sting, but then Sting challenged Seth Rollins. It was going to be Eric Rowan, who was still out of action because of injury and wouldn't be back until October. It was going to be Chris Jericho or Kane. They ultimately went with Chris Jericho. Though really, when to compete with Braun Strowman, they need to get a heavy guy to beat Braun Strowman up. I was hoping it would be The Undertaker, like they somehow made a call to him. Oh man, that would have been awesome. So Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Chris Jericho fought with the Wyatt family and lost, and they lost the match with Chris Jericho's getting too caught up in the match to even notice the disaster that was awaiting him. So and it looked like Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose were gonna turn heel and beat the crap out of Jericho, but then they didn't, and Jericho just shoved Ambrose and left, and it just kind of ended awkwardly. Like, it just felt a little awkward to me. Like, it was like, okay, what happens now? That was just seriously awkward. So yeah. So then, like a few nights later on SmackDown, Roman Reigns announced to Bray Wyatt that they should fight in Hell in a Cell. And I get that they were trying to make Undertaker's voice in Roman Reigns, and it didn't work. But I was really looking forward, like, they're gonna have one more match, and it has to be in a Hell in a Cell match. That feud has been so bloody, so destructive between each other and personal that this has to accumulate in a Hell in a Cell match. And I got my wish. And when they did that, I was really looking forward to this. And and also, I was hoping that this match was going to deliver. And now everyone makes the argument: did Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt do better, or did Undertaker and Brock Lesnar do better? Like, that's a big debate that's going on to this day, wondering which match stole the show because both matches were great. And though my personal would have to be Well, when I'm thinking about it, Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt had more creative moments, and Brock Lesnar and Undertaker had more bloody moments. So it was hard to tell which match was better. Both matches were great, so it's hard to really say which one was which. So heading into Survivor Series, Roman Reigns was pinned to eventually defeat Seth Rollins for the world title after he won a fatal four-way match against Kevin Owens, Alberto Del Rio, and Dolph Ziggler. And it was originally going to happen. Seth Rollins was going to be facing Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. It was reported that Roman Reigns was most likely going to win that match. And then on November 4th, Seth Rollins suffered an injury and vacated the title, which led to a tournament to crown a new champion. So Triple H attempts to persuade Roman Reigns to join him and be his guy, and yeah, I was actually saying, please shake his hand. I would love to see you turn to the dark side. And everyone else was agreeing with me, and pretty much like everyone was saying, yes, 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 and yeah, yeah, this is gonna happen. Like everything, and then like, okay, who's gonna be his first opponent then? Since he refused, really, Big Show? Are you freaking kidding me? Fine, skip that match. So then we got into the quarterfinals, and he fought Cesaro, and they had a hell of a match, and that would be Cesaro's last match until injury. So that certainly didn't help much because then fans are going to blame Roman Reigns for what happened, even though it was reported that Cesaro was injured for months and he just kept going at it. Um, then he fought Alberto Del Rio at Survivor Series and won, and they had a heck of a match. It was possibly the best match of the night because it was pretty much the only best match of the night because every other match sucked. Even the Undertaker's matches sucked, and I said that was the worst match of the night, and just saying that makes me feel sick because it's the Undertaker. So, so yeah, he faces Dean Ambrose in a B plus match, and it was only like 9 minutes long. And I was really hoping that Triple H would come out, do the Montreal screw job to Dean Ambrose, and then they would set up a feud between Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Nope, they didn't do that because WWE doesn't want to admit that they need to turn Roman Reigns heel, especially after Roman Reigns entered the arena with boos. Still saying that even after all this hard work he's done for the last, well, pretty much all since Royal Rumble, he's done nothing but deliver matches after matches, and you're still hating on him because, well, at this point it's cool. So Triple H attempted to offer his congratulations after Reigns won the match. Roman Reigns responded with a spear, and yeah, then Sheamus Bro kicked Reigns, cashed in his Money in the Bank contract, pinned him in 5 minutes and 15 seconds, which became a gimmick for Sheamus. And Sheamus then later retained against Roman Reigns at tables, ladders, and chairs in a TLC match. After being held by his fellow League of Nations members, Alberto Del Rio and Rusev, they would have had Wade Barrett. However, Barrett was injured, has a neck injury issue, and it's still going on at this time. So, yeah. So Roman Reigns eventually succumbs to his dark side temptations, finally, and beat the holy hell out of the League of Nations. Sure, that destroyed what little credibility they had, especially that 4-on-1 handicap match. I'm seriously trying to wonder, like, they're building Roman Reigns up as this underdog at this point for this angle they wanted to do to get Roman Reigns sympathy, but it wasn't working like I thought they should have. Like, they were making Roman Reigns a badass too much because he kept beating the League of Nations up by himself. So really, what was the point of this whole underdog plan they were doing? And then the final promo, Roman Reigns is doing tater tots, and like, why? Just why? Why, fans? Why do you hate him? Like, I know you said you want to help him. You say you have your own vision for him, but it just looks more like you hate him. Why do you hate him, man? Why, man? Why? And then Roman Reigns snapped, beat the living hell out of the League of Nations members, and then also Triple H, and it was awesome. So I was wondering, oh, what are they going to do now? Like, Roman Reigns just went ahead, beat the holy hell out of Sheamus, Rusev and Alberto Del Rio, then Triple H, and yeah, poor Triple H. So the next night, Mr. McMahon comes back, and I was like, okay, there are two things I'm hoping for out of this. Either Roman Reigns spears Mr. McMahon or Superman punches him. Please be one of them. Just anything, because Roman Reigns has to get some payback for Vince for everything Vince has done to him this year. Because if you really think about it, everything that's wrong with Roman Reigns' problems with the fans is all because of Vince. I mean, like, the interviews didn't help, but, like, most of this is mostly Vince's fault. Like, yeah, the interviews, yeah, were bad, and it's all Roman Reigns' fault for that, but, like, come on, Randy Orton did the same thing, in my own honest opinion. So, really, what's the difference here? So, Roman Reigns is granted a title match against Sheamus on Raw, and Roman Reigns' job on the line. So I thought, okay, they're going to do a disqualification victory because, well, the fans hate you. Because the fans hate you, the company hates you, because whatever. So Roman Reigns beat Del Rio, Rusev again, and then granted me my wish of punching Vince McMahon square in the jaw, and I was like, hooray, man! Vengeance! Finally, vengeance! And Roman Reigns wins the World Heavyweight Championship. The WWE World Heavyweight Championship, sorry. For the second time, and it was more surreal because it was in the same arena where he was booed out of the arena for because he was becoming the next world champion, and they embraced him, and I was like, yes, they finally did it. They finally got it right. They got the formula right. So now I'm wondering what's going to happen. Like there's still a few more weeks left into December. I'm wondering if they're going to build up a match for Royal Rumble. They didn't really do anything with Roman Reigns afterwards. This pretty much is the last relevancy Roman Reigns does. Like, he doesn't really do anything for a few weeks. Like, then there was this awkward arrest angle they did last night on Raw. So, yeah, Roman Reigns' year ended on a high note, but kind of ended with a scratching your head in confusion, like, what? So, yeah, that was Roman Reigns' 2015. It was such a spectacular year for him. Definitely better than a lot of other wrestlers this year, especially Bray Wyatt. Like, I'll talk about him in another video. And Roman Reigns ended this year off on a high note with winning the world title, punching Vince McMahon in the face, and finally earning the fans' respect. Did I mention he punched Vince McMahon in the face? Because that was awesome. So, this was New Year Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.